I want you to try something for me right now. Don't worry, it's safe.
Uh-oh.
No, it's easy. I just want you to look away from whatever device you're listening on. Look at a wall. Or look at your hand. Just stare at it for a second.
Okay, I'm looking at my hand.
You see it, right? It's solid. It has a specific color. It has texture. It feels undeniably real.
It feels like the absolute truth. You know, you open your eyes and the world is just there.
Exactly. We walk around with this core assumption that our eyes are these transparent windows, like we're sitting inside our heads, looking out through clear glass, seeing the universe exactly as it is.
Right.
But here's the uncomfortable question we need to start with today. What if you aren't seeing the world at all?
That's the red pill moment, isn't it?
It really is.
Because biologically speaking, you aren't seeing the world. You are seeing a reconstruction,
The best a guess.
a simulation, a very convincing one, but still a simulation. We tend to compare the eye to a camera. You open the shutter, light comes in, you get a photo. But that is fundamentally wrong. A camera records.
A camera is passive.
Yes, the human eye and brain, they construct.
And that distinction between recording and constructing, that's what we are diving into today. Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we are tackling the heavy hitters of sensation and perception. We are looking at chapters 1 and 2 of the source material, but we aren't just skimming the definitions.
No, we're going to deconstruct the machinery. We're getting into the weeds.
We know our listener. We know you. You aren't here for the fluff. You're here because this material is, well, it's dense.
It can be, yeah.
You've got psychophysics, which is basically trying to turn feelings into math equations. You've got neural convergence, which, let's be honest, trips everyone up on the quizzes.
Always. It's the #1 source of confusion.
And you have the electrochemical firing of the brain, which is the foundation for everything.
It's the material that usually makes people consider dropping the major.
Exactly. So our mission today is simple. We are going to take these complex mechanisms, the hardware and the software of your vision, and we're going to break them down until you can see the gears turning.
Piece by piece.
We want to focus on the stuff that is notoriously difficult on exams, the concepts that seem simple but have these tricky nuances.
And I think it's important to say, yes, this will help you crush a quiz. But more importantly, this is about understanding the dashboard of the machine you live in.
The dashboard. I like that. So let's define our terms before we pop the hood. Sensation versus perception. In common English, we use them interchangeably. I sense a presence, I perceive a presence, same thing.
Not in psychology, and definitely not on an exam. If you mix these up, you're in trouble right from the start.
So what's the dividing line?
Think of sensation as the hardware function. It is the raw data entry. It's the very first step.
So sensation is just the light hitting the eyeball, the sound wave hitting the eardrum.
Precisely. It is the elementary process, as the textbooks say. It's pressure on the skin. It is the physical world making contact with the biological body. It's just data. It has no meaning yet. It's binary code without a compiler.
Okay, so sensation is flash of light or loud noise.
Right. Perception is the software. Perception is the conscious sensory experience. It's the brain taking that raw, meaningless electrical spark, organizing it, interpreting it, and tagging it with a label based on your past experiences.
So sensation is the flash. Perception is, that's a police car, and I'm speeding.
Exactly. And getting from flash to police car is a massive complex chain reaction called the perceptual process.
Let's map that chain, because it feels instantaneous, but it's not. There are steps?
Oh, there are definite steps. It starts with the environmental stimulus, the car, the tree, the actual thing out there in the world.
The distal stimulus.
Right, the distant one. Then we have the principle of transformation. This is key, and people often gloss over it. The stimulus must be changed to be perceived.
What do you mean changed?
Well, light reflects off the tree, right? That reflected light, which is now the proximal stimulus, then hits your eye. It gets bent and focused by the cornea and lens. The light is physically transformed before it even touches a single receptor.
So it's already been processed in a way.
It's been organized. And then it hits the retina. And this is where the real magic happens, transduction.
Transduction. This is a huge one. This is the Rosetta Stone of the nervous system.
Yes, it is the holy grail of sensation. It is the translation of one form of energy into another. Your brain speaks one language, electricity.
Just one.
It does not speak photon, it does not speak sound wave, it does not speak taco flavor.
It only speaks voltage.
Correct. So transduction is the translator. It is the moment the physical energy like light is transformed into electrical energy or a neural impulse. Without transduction, you are blind. It doesn't matter how perfect your eyes are. If you can't turn light into electricity, the brain gets zero data.
Okay, so the chain goes. Stimulus in the environment, then transformation of that stimulus, then transduction into electricity, and finally, neural processing in the brain.
Right. Which then leads to the behavioral response.
I hit the brakes.
That's the chain. And studying this chain isn't just academic. I mean, it has huge medical applications, fixing vision, creating cochlear implants to cure deafness, but philosophically, it's about understanding our own limits.
So?
We are trapped in these biological machines. The only information we get about the universe has to come through this very specific, very filtered process. Studying perception is essentially studying the walls of our own prison.
That is surprisingly deep for a Tuesday. Let's talk about how the brain manages that data inside the prison. We have these two processing directions that are constantly fighting each other, top down and bottom up.
This is a concept that will haunt you through every chapter of psychology, not just sensation. You have to get this intuitive.
So let's start at the bottom. Bottom-up processing.
Think of bottom-up as data-driven. It starts at the receptors. It starts at the bottom of the system.
So it's raw.
It's completely raw. Light hits the retina. The brain looks at the individual pixels, basically, the angles, the lines, the colors, the motion. It takes these tiny, raw puzzle pieces and tries to glue them together to form an image with no prior knowledge.
So if I'm looking at, say, a mosquito, bottom-up processing sees, small object, wings, long legs, annoying buzzing sound. It's just a list of features.
Right. It builds the mosquito out of the parts. It is slow, laborious, and factual. It deals with what is actually there, sensorially speaking.
Right. Then what is top-down?
Top-down is knowledge-driven or conceptually driven. It starts at the top, your brain, your memories, your expectations, your language. It brings what you know to the table to help interpret what you see.
The classic example here is handwriting.
It's the best example because we all experience it. Imagine you get a note from a doctor, or maybe a really messy birthday card from a grandparent.
The scribbles where you can't tell an A from an O or a U.
Right. If you isolate one single letter, let's say an A, that looks like a squashed bug, and you use only bottom-up processing, you literally cannot identify it.
No chance.
It's just a squiggly line. Your retinas see the squiggle, but your brain has no idea what it is. The data isn't enough.
But if that squiggle is inside the word apple...
Boom! You see an A. Instantly. You don't struggle with it at all. Why?
Because I know how to spell apple.
Exactly. Top-down processing kicked in. Your brain knows the word apple. It expects an A to be there, so it reaches down and forces that ambiguous squiggle to look like an A.
The context overrides the raw data.
It informs the raw data. Top-down and bottom-up are always wrestling. Bottom-up says, here's the data. Top-down says, here is what I expect the data to be.
Yeah.
And your reality, what you consciously perceive, is the compromise between them.
It's slightly terrifying, though. It means we see what we expect to see a lot of the time.
We often do. That's why proofreading your own essay is so hard.
Oh, that's a great example.
Yeah. Top-down processing already knows what you meant to write, so you literally don't see the typos. Your brain fixes them before they hit your consciousness. You need a fresh set of eyes that relies more on bottom-up to catch them.
Okay, so we have the logic. We have the two streams of processing. Now we need to measure it. And this brings us to the part of the chapter that usually makes people groan.
The math.
The math. Psychophysics.
Gustav Fechner, 1860. The man, the myth.
Fechner was asking a question that sounds like a riddle, right? How do you measure the invisible? How do I measure your private experience of red? I can measure the light wavelength with a spectrometer. That's the physics part. But how do I measure your sensation? That's the cytology, the psycho part of psychophysics.
It's the classic mind-body problem. Fechner wanted to build a bridge between the physical world and the mental world, and his solution was brilliant. He decided to look for the tipping points, the thresholds.
And this is prime quiz material. We need to be crystal clear on the difference between the absolute threshold and the difference threshold.
Let's start with absolute, the definition you need to memorize. The absolute threshold is the minimum amount of stimulation necessary to detect a stimulus 50% of the time.
What? 50%? Why not 100%?
Yeah.
It seems like it should be, can you hear it or not? A simple yes or no.
Because biological systems are noisy. They're not digital. Sometimes your nerves fire randomly. Sometimes you lose focus. Sometimes your blood pumping in your ears drowns out a faint sound. There is never a hard, clean line where you go from deaf to hearing.
It's a gradient.
It's a curve, a probability curve. So we just agree, scientifically, to pick the midpoint as the official threshold, the point where you're basically guessing.
And to find that midpoint, Fechner gave us 3 methods.
Mm.
And listen, for the learner out there, you need to know the pros and cons of each, because that's the question they'll ask. Which method is most accurate? Which is fastest?
100%. Method 1, the method of limits. This is the hearing test method most of us know.
I put headphones on you. I play a tone. It's silent. Then I turn it up a tiny bit. Still silent. Turn it up.
Silent. Turn it up. Oh, I hear it. That's the crossover point. In the method of limits, the experimenter controls the intensity and changes it in discrete steps. They do an ascending series going up and then a descending series.
So they start loud and go down until I say it's gone.
Exactly. And you do this over and over, and you take the average of all the crossover points to find the threshold.
It's intuitive.
Yeah.
But is it flawed? What's the problem?
It has what we call expectation errors. If I know you are turning the volume up, I might jump the gun and say yes before I actually hear it, just because I'm anticipating it.
Or the opposite, right? The error of habituation.
Exactly. If you're turning it down, I might keep saying yes for a few more clicks after it's gone, just because I've gotten into the habit of saying yes.
It's the anticipation bias.
Okay.
So to fix that, we have method 2, the method of adjustment.
This is where I give you the knob. I say, turn this dial until you can just barely hear the tone. Or adjust this light until you can just barely see it. The subject controls the stimulus.
This feels like it would be way faster. I don't have to wait for you to step through all the levels.
It is the fastest method, by far. But it's also the sloppiest. It's the least accurate.
Why?
Because people are inconsistent. You might stop turning too early on one trial or turn it down too far on the next. It gives you a ballpark, but not precision. It's good for a quick check, not for rigorous science.
So if I want the gold standard, if I want to publish a paper and not get laughed at.
Then you use method 3, the method of constant stimuli.
Constant stimuli. How does that work?
I, the experimenter, pick 5 or 6 intensity levels beforehand. Some I know you can definitely hear, some I know you definitely can't, and a few that are right in the middle, around the threshold. And then I play them in a completely random order.
So there's no pattern.
No pattern at all.
Right.
Loud, silent, medium, silent, loud, medium. You can't guess what's coming next. You can't anticipate.
So my bias is gone.
It's completely removed. You just have to say yes or no hundreds of times. We then plot the percentage of yes responses for each intensity. It forms a beautiful S-curve, this psychometric function. The 50% point is your threshold.
And the downside.
It takes forever. It is by far the most time-consuming method. So you trade time for accuracy. If you're running a lab, you pay that price. If you're just checking if your grandma needs a hearing aid, maybe stick to the method of limits.
Okay, so that's measuring the minimum, the is it there question. But what about noticing a change? This is the difference threshold, the DL.
Or the just noticeable difference, the J and D. They mean the same thing.
And this brings us to Ernst Weber. And Weber's law is one of those things that feels counterintuitive until you hear the right analogy.
It really is. Weber's big insight was that our sensitivity to change isn't a fixed number. It's not about adding 2 grams. It's a ratio.
Let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Because if I can tell the difference between a 10-pound weight and an 11-pound weight, I feel like I should be able to tell the difference between a 100-pound weight and a 101-pound weight. It's a 1-pound difference in both cases.
Physics says it's the same change.
Exactly.
That's the trap. Logic says 1 pound is 1 pound. Biology says no, context is everything.
Give us the analogy.
Imagine you are in a completely silent room. I whisper, do you hear me?
Of course.
Now imagine you're at a loud rock concert. I whisper at the exact same volume. Right next to your ear. Do you hear me?
Not a chance.
The whisper is the same. The stimulus is identical. But the background noise, the standard stimulus, has changed. That's the core idea. So let's use the weight example. Imagine you are holding a feather. It weighs almost nothing. I place a paperclip on that feather. Do you feel the weight increase?
Definitely. The paperclip is heavy compared to the feather. It probably doubles the weight.
Now imagine you are holding a bowling ball. It's heavy. Your muscles are straining. I place that same paperclip on the bowling ball. Do you feel the difference?
Not a chance. It's invisible.
But why? It's the same paperclip. It's the same physical weight being added. But in the context of the bowling ball, it is statistically insignificant. That is Weber's law.
As the intensity of the standard stimulus increases, the amount you need to add to notice a difference gets bigger.
It gets proportionally bigger. That's the key.
Which is where the formula comes in. Dual dollar standard equal K. That's the formula you see in the textbook.
Right. And K is the Weber fraction. It's a constant percentage for a given sense.
And these fractions are fascinating because they tell us what our senses care about. They tell us about our evolutionary priorities.
Exactly. Look at the Weber fraction for electric shock. It is 0.01. That is 1%.
That means if I increase a shock by just 1%, you notice it. That's an incredibly small change.
We are hypersensitive to pain. We have to be to survive. It's a warning system. Now look at light intensity. It's 0.08. You need an 8% change in brightness to notice the lights got brighter.
So we are 8 times less sensitive to light changes than to pain changes.
Roughly, yes. And for taste, like saltiness, it's surprisingly high, about 0.2 or 20%. You need to increase the salt in a soup by 20% for someone to reliably notice it got saltier.
This is why chefs are always grabbing huge pinches of salt, not individual grains. They need to cross that threshold.
They're fighting Weber's law.
This leads right into S.S. Stevens and magnitude estimation. Because Weber tells us about the threshold for detecting a difference, but Stevens asked a different question. Does the strength of the feeling match the strength of the stimulus?
If I double the intensity of a light bulb, does it look twice as bright?
And the answer is a resounding no.
No, not even close. This is called response compression. As you increase the physical intensity of the light, the perceived brightness goes up, but it starts to level off. The curve flattens out.
So going from a 10-watt bulb to a 20-watt bulb is a huge difference.
Yeah.
But going from a 90-watt to a 100-watt.
Barely noticeable, you have to massively increase the physics to get a small increase in the psychology.
And this is a safety feature, right? It protects us.
It is. It's an evolutionary adaptation. If our eyes responded linearly to light, walking out into sunlight would be like staring into an arc welder. It would be blindingly painful. The compression allows us to function in dim rooms and on bright beaches without overloading the system. It compresses the dynamic range of the world to fit inside our brain.
But then you have the opposite, response expansion.
Pain. Always back to pain.
Yeah.
Specifically electric shock. If I double the current of a shock, it doesn't feel twice as painful.
It feels way worse than that.
It feels 3 or 4 times as painful. The perceived sensation grows much faster than the physical stimulus.
Because the body is screaming, step P, whatever you were doing, this is really bad.
Exactly. The sensation is expanded to force a behavioral response. Nature doesn't want you to ignore damage. It makes the warning signal impossible to ignore.
Okay, let's leave the math lab and go